Today we're talking about why we're choosing to do the ketogenic diet versus the ketogenic version of the GAPS diet. And the ketogenic version of the GAPS diet is really what I used. We did autism recovery for my oldest daughter, who is primarily who I'm going to talk about right now. Amazing results. Just like we went from no eye contact, not sleeping and screaming all the time, to great eye contact with the GAPS diet and the ketogenic version of the GAPS diet. And I'll link down below. I have quite a few videos on this already, so I'm not going to go into that whole thing right now. But for keto, the reason we're choosing keto over the GAPS like ketogenic version of GAPS, which is just low carb GAPS, it's not having honey or fruit, is that it allows her the brain benefits. And long term, I would definitely agree that being on the ketogenic version of the GAPS diet is better for your overall body. And you're gonna, in a second, I'll get into a few of the compromises that I make. It's because when you're on keto instead of GAPS, you can have little treats. Like her classroom went to, I think it was like Wendy's. It was some fast food restaurant on the way back from a field trip the other day, and her teacher texted me, and what can she eat here? And her teacher's amazing at working with me, and I'm super appreciative of this. And on GAPS, there's nothing that she can eat there really. There's going to be fillers, and there's going to be like preservatives in pretty much anything in all fast food. And so this is where she's allowed to participate a lot more with her peers, which at 12 is super important to her. For me, I personally don't care. It just doesn't matter. But for her, this is something that it's unnecessarily restrictive, like for the benefits that we see of her not having any fillers or any like preservatives or anything at all, which is what's required of the GAPS diet. On keto, you can kind of, as long as I can keep her in ketosis, which because she's growing and because she's pretty active, her carb, like the amount of carbs she can have a day is like 35, which is actually quite a bit to work with. And so a lot of times we'll cook in school and her teacher will say, well, she just told me the other day, we made fruit roll-ups with strawberries and honey. And I'm like, oh, the honey is like high carb. Strawberries are great for keto though, like they're pretty low carb as far as fruits go. And that she can have whatever half of a regular fruit roll-up would be. Like if you take the regular fruit roll-up size, she could have half of one of those. And she's like, oh yeah, well, everyone's only getting a quarter of one. So that's not a problem anyway. And so that's where, though that is GAPS friendly in a lot of different situations like that, she can have like, just to taste, like she can have one chocolate dipped strawberry that's dipped in like sugar chocolate is what I call it, the stuff that's made with real sugar. And I just find this to be a lot less restricting for her, and she gets those brain benefits that being on completely like a gluten-free diet or being on just like a mostly whole foods, like the 80-20 principle diet wouldn't give to her. So she's like benefiting from our dietary protocol, but she's also able to have like just a taste. And so we had macaroni and cheese the other night, and she loves macaroni and cheese, and I did like the cauliflower macaroni and cheese, which she's very aware is not the same thing. And so I put like a tablespoon, there's like probably 6 noodles on her plate, and then she feels included. And so that's something that's really important to her, like not having to say completely no to things, just like you would on the GAPS diet, because those 6 noodles of macaroni and cheese, if you're on the GAPS diet, will undo all the work that you're doing of starving out that pathogenic bacteria down below. And because again, like I said, we've already done that. It's something that I don't worry about a ton. I feel like her gut should be fine. And so we do keep up the probiotics, and we do keep up the prebiotics, which are super important to her gut health, and mine as well, and all of ours as well. But it's something that not having to say no, like not for 2 years, is something that's really helpful for us for the ketogenic diet versus the GAPS diet. And then now I'm going to tell you some of the compromises that we make and how we make them. So the first one is Keto Cocoa. There's like a few different versions of these, and they're all made with, or most of them are made with like stuff that's not GAPS legal, but it has MCT oil. And there have been studies that show that when you take MCT oil, the amount of carbs that you can tolerate are higher. So right now it's like Christmas time, and she is wanting to taste different things, and she does want to feel included. And I've been doing a great job. You can look at my other video for how I tell when she's in or out of ketosis. And there's like 4 pretty major things: processing disorder, balance, impulse control. I think there was one more, like memory, working memory. But anyways, those just when I bump her out of ketosis, I can tell because she's not able to process what I'm saying. She's not able to balance as well. She's like holding on tight to my arm to cross parking lots and stuff. And so it's definitely, I want to keep her in ketosis. MCT oil has been shown that you can have a little bit higher carb count and still stay in ketosis. And then my preference would be to use like just plain MCT oil, but if you've ever tried getting a 12-year-old or any child to take supplements, sometimes you just need to go with what tastes better. And so right now, like we've just built it into our routine that she comes home after school and she makes hot chocolate out of, this has MCT oil. And I was wondering for a while, I'll link to this down below too, how they make MCT oil in powder form, because this just looks like regular hot chocolate mix. They bind it to a prebiotic starch or a prebiotic fiber. And so that's how like you can get powdered MCT oil that you can put in your coffee, or you can make into hot chocolate. So this has MCT, medium chain triglycerides, which are also in coconut oil. So if you can cook a lot with coconut oil, you'll get these same benefits. A lot of my fat bombs have coconut oil. Again, I'll link below. Cocoa, gargum, silica, which is probably just keeping it from clumping. Monk fruit, which is awesome. Oh, this one doesn't. I thought this one would have erythritol. We do use erythritol a little bit. It's in these are the probiotics that we use right now. And then I do have it, I am doing some baking, like we're making chocolate chip cookies with erythritol. When you're on GAPS, you can use honey, but when you're on keto, honey is way too high carb. And so this is just like a personal choice that I made. I don't love erythritol, it's highly processed. It's like as processed as corn syrup, but it keeps her in ketosis, so we get those brain benefits, and she can feel like she's participating with, like, you can make sugar cookies, you can make chocolate chip cookies, you can make all sorts of stuff with erythritol, and it's really not awful. Some people get headaches from it. We don't seem to be bad responders. I try not to include it a lot in our diet, but it just really makes stuff a lot better. It's a lot easier to keep her on keto when she can have erythritol a little bit. So the MCT oil is really my best weapon, I guess, for keeping her in ketosis, even though she's having like a bite of something here and there. And then also the only reason why this really works is that her teacher's on board. And so if you are doing a dietary protocol for your child, really everyone that is working with them needs to be on board. And so her teacher, like, keto is enough mainstream that you might have an easier time getting your care providers and your teachers and stuff on board with keto, especially since it's not super militant. So something I had a lot of trouble with, I opted to just homeschool Hannah while she was on the GAPS diet, was because like someone would give her one rice cracker and she'd be up for the next 3 nights screaming at night, because we were just really trying to and really needed to balance that gut flora, which you can see in all my GAPS diet videos. I talk a lot more about that. And so someone would give her a rice cracker, or they'd give her like just like a tiny piece of cookie, and just all of that will undo your work on the GAPS diet, which I'm a total proponent for the GAPS diet, and I super encourage everyone to do it if you have super chronic health conditions. But also I don't feel like it's something that needs to be done forever, and if you can get most of the benefits by doing a different and less super restrictive dietary protocol, especially if it's important to your child to not be on that dietary protocol, then I would encourage you to see what you can do. So that was it. I just wanted to talk about, I'm Kara from Health, Home, and Happiness. You can subscribe over there if you would like. And then I'm going to put some more sort of related videos that you'll find helpful over here. And I wanted to let you know sort of why we're choosing keto and not GAPS at this particular point in time, because I'm kind of known as a GAPS blogger. And right now we're not on GAPS. So I will talk to you later, and look for more videos about sort of the supplements, the more supplements that we use to supplement the ketogenic diet and for best gut health and all of that. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you later.